Now that we have the camp all set up, I had to take a couple minutes and do a quick trail fix. That's not good. Apparently the reason we've been overheating so often was that the heater core is leaking. So that's where all the coolant and water stuff's been going. That's why we brought it up here this weekend with no hood, trying to help keep it cool. And what we did was we went ahead and bypassed the heater core, which was right there, and we used one of those little pressed stone flush kits because we weren't sure what size hoses we need, and they had 3 options in that kit. So for $4 we went ahead and just went with it. We'll fix it all right when we're done with the trip. This is where we're at so far. Went ahead and took out the glove box and also the little vent tube that goes from the blower motor into the main vent chamber there. Just a little note that taking out the glove box, there's a little screw in there that you pull out, and then you can slide one side out and then the other. So don't go trying to pry that thing out of there. You can actually do it with a screwdriver. So getting in here, we can see those 2 that lead into the engine bay. Those are the plugs, main lines for the heater core that is buried back in there somewhere. So we're going to go to the driver's side now and start opening things up and see what we can get at to get a visual as to see really how hard this is going to be. But it doesn't really matter. It's got to get done anyway. Winter's coming, and wife's got to be warm when we're wheeling. So we'll get to it. Here's what we've done so far. Took out all the stuff in the center console, stereo, heater controls, plastic trim, removed the steering wheel, the turn signals, pulled the instrument cluster out a little bit. Earlier I mentioned we took that out, glove box and little heater vent tube. And what we just did really quickly before I grabbed the camera was popped the covers off and removed the 3 screws across the front of the dash. And now, as you can see, it's getting ready to come out. There's still some bolts that need to come out up in there, right there, and there's probably going to be something on the driver's side as well, maybe over here in this corner. So still working our way through it, trying to figure out how to get this dash pulled so that we can get to the heater core. Couple of quick things here now that we've gotten the dash all the way out, leaned out of the way there. You will have a lot of wires like this that are all bound up in these all throughout the dash. You'll have to unhook your speakers, of course, the latch for the hood, and then there's going to be a bolt there and a bolt there, and there's obviously still some more bolts somewhere because I can't quite get this thing out yet. I know that these right here connect. Can't really get them that well. They're back there. Unfortunately the flashlight's not with me right now. But there's another one on that side as well. They are bolts with nuts on the other end inside the engine compartment. So see how dusty it is in here for, 30 years old or so. Plus it's the off-road truck. So, alright, well, let's get this thing out and I'll show you what the heater core looks like. Got the main heater unit out. There is a small screw-in section that goes right here that holds everything in, and once you get that out, you're able to, in theory, oh, there's a bunch of money in there. Oh, hey, there was all kinds of money in there. Remove your heater core, and you can see this one is in bad shape. It actually had started to leak into the cab, which is how I know it's bad. Now that we got it out, we'll drop the new one into that hole and start putting this whole mess back together again. Alright, when you get back to this point here and you have the heater back in and your connections, your hoses and stuff are hooked back up to the engine, go ahead and start the car up, let it run for about 10 minutes or so, it gets up to temp, and make sure your hoses don't leak, and then also go ahead and look in there. Lift that up, look down in there, make sure your heater core isn't leaking. You don't want to put all this stuff back on and then come to find out you still got water coming out. Now that we got that done, we checked it, we're okay. We're going to go ahead and start looking into moving these wires out of the way again, trying to connect some back together, and seeing if we can set this dash back up on here. Now that the dash is bolted back in, got the screws back in, a couple of quick things I wanted to mention that are going to be difficult. Well, they were for a single guy. If you're out here with a buddy, it'll probably go a little better. When you're putting the dash in, be really knowledgeable and patient with this section here. I already got the 2 screws in, but it tends to get hung up on this right here with the little dash knobs. Okay, so the screws aren't tight, but they're in. So make sure you get that, as well as all this wiring. I'm pretty sure that most of you guys don't have this kind of mess in there. Somebody put an alarm, obviously previous owner put that alarm in there, and I think that's part of why there's such a mess. They also had a stereo system in here, so there were speaker wires that ran all the way to the back, and probably had amps and all that good stuff in here. So those are just mainly wanted to mention that. Now we're going to go ahead and put the dash back together, put all the front end here components back in, steering wheel back on. We did actually unfortunately break the, I say we a lot, but it's just me, broke the bezel trim that goes around all of that. So once we get it all bolted back in, get the stereo back in, then we'll take a look at it, see if there's something we can do. Might be able to steal that part off of maybe the Bulldog tracker or the white tracker that's out there in the front. We'll see. There we have it, guys, all back together. Dash is back in, center console's back in. Did mention earlier in the video that I broke the bezel surround, so gonna have to try to hunt down one of those, make it look decent and presentable again. Got the stereo working again, cigarette lighter, speakers, all the good stuff that's supposed to work's working. Speedometer cable, haven't gone anywhere yet, but I did hook it up, so that should work. Tachometer works, all that good stuff works. Lights, turn signals. So all in all, took me a couple of days to do it. Hit and miss after work and such. About 6 hours is what I figure it took us to do it. So not terribly big job. Only had one little screw left over, so hey, that's not too shabby. So hopefully you guys learned something from watching this video, and you guys are willing to tackle this as well. Thanks a lot for watching.